Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Marina here, and as always it is a pleasure to come to you in another video. I'm bored with that intro. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Marina here, and it is such a pleasure to come to you again in another video. To the new people who have joined us recently, thank you so much for subscribing and for joining the family. If you're yet to subscribe, please do well to hit that subscribe button. We have fun on this channel, we keep it real on this channel. There's something for you to learn here, so go ahead, smash the subscribe button so that we can continue to grow this family. Okay, returning subscribers, welcome my people. As always, you guys, I'm here again. So last week I made a video talking about black tax and how that looks like for African immigrants in Canada. Even though Canada was my base reference, but I know that conversation of black tax applies to Africans who live outside of Africa. Wherever it is you live, black tax applies to you. I got a lot of feedback from that video, especially off YouTube, like on WhatsApp, on Instagram. A lot of people came back to me sharing their own stories and just talking about, yes, finally somebody's talking about it. Like, well, yeah, I enjoyed getting all of those feedback. But in the comment section, there was one particular comment. When I was making the video, I said that it is easier for you to be broke in Canada than it is in Nigeria. My reference to Nigeria in that video is because I'm originally from Nigeria and I have only lived in Nigeria other than Canada. So when I said that, the person replied and said, what do you mean it is easier to be broke in Canada than it is in Nigeria? Can you explain? I responded to the comment and thought I was just going to leave it there. But I was minding my business on YouTube this week when I saw this very interesting video that Oyeka Asamaka did in collaboration with Wizqueen. I'll leave a link to that video on the screen and in the description box so that you guys go check out what I'm referring to. And they were talking about this, and they were talking about why immigrants are broke in Canada. I'm like, the universe is aligning, everything is aligning. Because sometimes when you're the only one who shares a point of view, it can be like you are crazy. But when other people are making videos talking about the same things, there's some kind of validation that comes from, okay, so I'm not mad, I'm not the only one who's saying this like this. And that's the reason why I'm doing this video today, to expand on what I meant with that comment. Like I said, I was born and raised in Nigeria. I spent the first couple of decades of my life in Nigeria before I moved to Canada. So I understand to a very large extent how the way of life is, the way things are done in Nigeria. I'm going to address this in a couple of major areas, right? It will not be exhaustive. I cannot speak about every situation in Nigeria and Canada and compare them, but I'm going to be doing this comparison on major basis. The first one will be rent and utilities. In Nigeria, rent is paid yearly, which means people have 1 year to save up their rent for the next year. Have there been situations where it is time to renew your rent in the next year and people cannot pay? Absolutely. Have there been times where people start to avoid their landlords because they haven't paid their rent and try to dodge the people, basically? Has that happened? Yes. I have lived in a house where somebody lived in that house for 2 years, maybe 3 years, and did not pay rent. In fact, in the middle of the second year, they now brought up a legal issue and took the landlord to court. And you know that, of course, when issues around landlord-tenant kind of relationships are in court, it's almost like everything pauses until a decision is reached. So that person ended up staying in that house for almost 3 years and did not pay rent. You cannot try that in Canada. First, because rent is paid monthly, not yearly. It is very unlikely that you will stay in a house in Canada for 3 years and not pay. You will pay your rent on a monthly basis. If you are living in an apartment that is managed by property managers, even worse for you to say you don't pay your rent. There are some places where if you don't pay your rent on the day of the month that it is due, they give you like maybe a day or two window grace period, and after that you start to pay interest on every day that you miss not paying the rent, because there are so many things that are hinged on that monthly flow of cash in this country. So many things are hinged on your ability to, first of all, get your salary, and then to be able to pay your rent, to pay your utilities. All of those things, you must pay it when it is due. You can't get away with that in Canada. That's how the system operates here. Same thing goes for utilities. Utility companies are able to keep running, banking on the inflow from the people who are paying for these utilities. So can you imagine SaskPower, which is what's in Saskatchewan where I live. Imagine SaskPower not getting power bill from thousands of people on a monthly basis. They will feel it because it will affect things on their end. So everything is dependent on everybody must do their own part of the cycle for that cash flow to continue to go around. It cannot happen here that you will not pay your bills, that you will not pay your rent, you cannot pay your utilities. You can get away with that in Nigeria, maybe some other African countries, or maybe some other developing countries. It does not happen here. That's number one. And then another thing you have to understand about the Canadian system is that it's very credit driven. And this is something that Onyeka and WizQueen talked about in their video. Our system in Canada is so credit driven. They are banking on your ability to get into debt. You're trying to prove that you're credit worthy. You're trying to prove that when you borrow money, you would return it. But it's like these financial institutions operate and run, hoping that you continue to remain in debt. So they will fling credit at you. They will offer you credit for everything, from like the major things like the mortgage, because I mean, that's how mortgages run here. You don't pay for your house 100% cash down. They do it in such a way that you pay like a down payment and then you can spread out the remaining payments over a couple of years, depending on the term of mortgage that you choose. You can spread that out and pay on a monthly basis. That's good debt. They consider it good debt because I mean, you're building equity in the house. It's considered an investment. That's debatable, but that's not the conversation we're having today, okay? Mortgages are considered like major credit, but they will also throw you credit for things as simple as, I want to buy a top that is $60. They will offer you the opportunity to pay 4 times. Buy now, pay for it later. Or you want to get a phone. In fact, our phone plans here, it almost makes more sense for you to get into a contract as against buying a phone outright. Like everything is so credit driven. They are banking on your ability to collect those credits, remain in credit, continue to pay. And if you're not financially educated, that can just be the beginning of your downfall. Because if you don't understand credit and you just go on a spree because you think it's free money, you are going to get into major trouble. And you guys, credit card debt, credit debt, consumer debt is the major reason why they say for every $1 a Canadian has earned, they have spent $1.67. You have spent more than you are earning, because we are all banking on credit. So everybody's in credit. In that way, can all be broke. I agree. You know, the system is so credit driven. It is so credit driven that if you don't pay attention, you will think you have money until the day that you cannot pay back. It's the day that you miss that payment that you realize that actually that money is not your own. It's not free money. And that's not something that happens in Nigeria. In Nigeria, if you're buying something, you're buying for it cash. We don't have that kind of credit system. If you see somebody who owns a home, it's now that I'm hearing that more people are opening up to the idea of mortgage in Nigeria. Most of the people who live in their own houses have built the house from scratch and it's their own cash. If you see somebody who has a car, they have paid for it cash. If you see somebody who is using the latest gadget, you best believe that they paid for it outright. In Canada, it's not very likely that people are able to pay cash down for stuff. And it brings me to the next point that I'm going to make, which is like the unending expenses. It is expensive to live in Canada. The taxes are high. The cost of living is on an upward rise. It has been on an upward rise for the last little while, and it does not look like it's coming down. The expenses are unending. I understand it's the same thing in Nigeria, but like I said, because of all of these other factors where it's like you can bank on goodwill. You attend a wedding as a guest, and people who are coming to spray the couple, they can spray you. You go to a wedding and you come home richer. I see those videos on Instagram where people go for wedding. Like, okay, so for those of you who don't understand the concept of spraying, in Nigeria, how people support people who are celebrating or people who are having whatever occasion is like they spray naira notes on them. In some cases, they spray foreign currency on them. That's happening in Nigeria now. So people who are getting married, as they're having their dance, their friends dance with them and they spray money on them. I think the Filipino people have a similar culture where you can pin money on the bride and the groom and you get an opportunity to dance with them. But in Nigeria, you spray the money on them and walk away. That's your own way of supporting the new union or supporting the people who are having whatever event, because it's not just weddings. Your father dies, they will spray you. You have a baby, they will spray you. Like whatever event it is you're doing, it's a way. I don't know where that culture started from, but it's basically a thing where they spray money on people who are celebrating something. So you can get married and end up richer than you were before you got married, because people will spray you so much money. It's almost like you get back the cost that the wedding cost you. You lose a parent, people are coming, the default is they're either bringing you food or they're bringing you money. You have a baby, they're bringing you gifts for the baby, or they're bringing you money, or they're bringing you food. Nigerians are communal like that. In Canada, you get married. In fact, in some cases, when you are going for some weddings, you are going to go to the wedding and pay for your own drink. You cannot take a +1 to a wedding that you have been invited to. You can't, because the wedding has been budgeted for per head. In fact, your colleague can get married. If they don't tell you are invited, you can't show up. You have a baby, we're gonna bring you flowers. You lose a parent, you are getting flowers. Somebody dies, you are getting flowers. Like, we'll write you a card, handwritten, heartfelt note with a bouquet of flowers. Say you're waiting for somebody to come and spray you. It's the Africans and the Nigerians here that do that. But if you say you want to plan an event, bank it that you're going to get money back because they're going to spray you, it's your name on your own. That's not going to happen. It doesn't happen here. It's just not typical. So all the expenses that you have to deal with, all the expenses, everything that you have to pay for, you pay for with no support in sight. There's no free money. You're not going to go and visit somebody and the person will just say, oh, thank you very much for coming, take this money. It does not happen here. It doesn't. So that's another reason why I think it is much easier for you to be broke here than it is in Nigeria. I stand by that, and I still maintain that it is easier for you to be broke here than it is in Nigeria. And then the other one I'm going to talk about is like the bottlenecks that exist when you're trying to start a business in Canada. In Nigeria, you can order things in bulk and start to sell it from the trunk of your car. We saw a lot of people do that. Just drive your car somewhere, go into an office where you know one person and they just put you in a corner. You can spread all your goods on the table and people are going to come and patronize you at work. There are people who sell things in their workplaces in Nigeria. You can package things, take it to work, your colleagues can buy and they'll pay you later or whenever it is that they get paid. Or people are buying things and paying you cash on the spot. In Canada, you cannot just carry your car and drive into an office and say you have earrings for sale. That's not going to happen. Or you just go to the car park of a church after service and open your booth and you're selling Ankara, or you're selling hot moi moi, or you're selling all those things that we see in Nigeria. It doesn't really happen here. Before you even cook food and sell to people, you will go through food safety, you will take food handling courses, you would register the business so that you can be remitting tax. There are so many bottlenecks. Like, business is not so easy to just wake up and say, I'm starting business. How do you even penetrate the system? If you're looking to set up a kind of more structured business where it's not just sole proprietorship, where it is you and the business considered as one, the bottlenecks are a lot. You go through these processes where it's almost like, yes, we're trying to maintain standard. Yes, they're trying to uphold standards and make sure that you're not going to be harming people in the kind of business that you're doing. But it's not a very easy process for newcomers to break into. Are there other advantages of doing businesses here? Yes. If you register a business, it now gives you opportunity to access certain grants. You can write off some expenses. Depending on the kind of business that you're doing, you can write off expenses, you can access grants. All of those parts are good. The ease of registering a business, yes, the registration process for businesses are relatively easy. So there's an advantage there. But I'm just saying that to build like clientele, to start doing the business, it's not the same way that it is in Nigeria. So there are many things to consider when you think about that. So it's not so easy to just start a business and just build clients. It takes a little more work because there are a little more checks that are in place here. It's still good. I still recommend that everybody find something that they can do on the side and register it, so that at least that, even if it's $500 a week you're making, that will most likely pay for your phone plan, it will put gas in your car, it can pay for some part of your groceries, depending on the size of your family. So yeah, it's all these reasons that I think it still seems like there's more free cash in Nigeria than there is here. There is still more free cash in Nigeria, and that's the truth. And Onyeka and Wiz Queen talked about some of these things. They also referenced black tax, which I talked about last week, so I'm not going to flog that again. But there's a very high tendency that people can be broke in this Canada. There's a very high tendency, and that brings me to like the way forward. What exactly can people do differently, especially for those people who are looking to move here, or the people who have just landed here and they're trying to start their lives again? Planning. When you know that you're going to live here, you have to start to plan ahead. Plan from as major as Where are we going to live? What city are we going to live in? Can we afford to live there? Are we coming with enough money such that if we cannot pay our rent, or we can't find a job in the first couple of months, would we be able to afford the cost of rent? Be realistic with yourself. You guys know that I talk about this all the time. Tell yourself the truth and make sure that you're making plans that match your budget. Make plans that you can sustain. A lot of research is needed, like for your career path, what are you going to do? For those of you who are interested in doing business, what kind of business can you do? Is it a business that you need to be the sole proprietor? Is it kind of business where you need 2 or 3 people to come together? I think that's an area that Africans in Canada haven't explored enough. We haven't explored allyship and partnerships a lot. Instead of everybody doing things one in your house, instead of everybody cooking or baking or sewing or doing all of these things individually, is it going to be easier if 2 or 3 people come together and make the business a little more structured? Would we be able to manage things better that way? Would it be better if there's more structure to some of these businesses? So might be something for people to think about. Do some research. Plan and do research. Find what other skill do you have that can make you money on the side. What can you do aside a 9 to 5 that can generate some income? For me, I am doing a lot of searching right now, just thinking, what other sort of income can I generate? I'm thinking about it too, like, because me, I need an additional source of income, because this inflation is not smiling at anybody. I'm also looking for additional sources of income. So please, if you have ideas, just drop it. Let's partner, okay? We need to make this money because the bills are not smiling at us. Anyway, I just thought I should come and let you people know, and I'm hoping that with these few points of mine, I've been able to explain to you why I think that there's a higher tendency that you are going to be broke in Canada than it is in Nigeria. It may be different for your home country, and if it is, please do well to leave that in the comment section. I cannot wait to hear from you guys and read what your take is on this. Do you agree with some of the things I've said? What has your experience been like? Please leave that in the comment section. I want to hear from you as well. Well, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned from it. This was not intended to discourage anybody. It is intended to tell you guys the truth so that you will plan, so that you will research and position yourself appropriately, so you don't come to Canada and struggle and then join the people who will now say life in Canada is bad. Are things different now? Yes, but I still do not believe that life in Canada is bad. I don't. I am not of that school of thought. It is not my personal experience. If that's how it is for you, my heart goes out to you, but I can only relate with what I've experienced personally. Thank you very much again for watching this video. I hope you learned from it. If you did, please do well to smash the subscribe button if you haven't already. And until I come your way in the next video, it's your girl, as always, saying thank you and have an awesome day. Bye, guys.